A film is a series of images cut together, right? And somebody has to work out what images to shoot. And it's at this stage, as a director, that you start developing what's called a shot list. And a shot list is an ever-changing list of all the shots in the film. So for example, you take a scene, how do you shoot it? And essentially that's the job of the director, is to work out exactly what angles to shoot. Is it a close-up? Is it a wide shot? So one of the first things that Ben and I did was prepare a shot list. I just think it would be nice. It's not that I don't want a big elaborate move or anything. The other thing that's really useful is what's called storyboards. So storyboards are essentially the shots of the film in a visual form that are drawn, or they're drawn on a computer or by hand. We had a storyboard artist who helped us on this film. A very talented artist by the name of Maria Penna. So we sat with her for 4.5 hours, and we went through different scenes. Essentially, Ben and I acted out the scenes for her, and then we want a shot like this, and then a shot here and moving like this, and we described it for her, and then she took all that information away. She did these little sort of stick figure drawings for herself, so that she knew what to do, and then she went away and did the proper versions. Something we did with the storyboards, which was very specific to this film, was that we actually we took Maria's drawings and we put them into a computer, and we edited them together, and it kind of was this little cartoon film almost that was really good reference for what we wanted to do. So you have your shot list, and keep in mind that pretty much everything else on the film, everything else that happens for the remainder of the shoot and leading up to that will be based on this shot list. So that's how important that is. So we gave our shot list to Rob Cooley, who is our first assistant director, and he took that and he essentially broke it down into the different scenes. And what was involved in those scenes, what shots were involved in those scenes, how long those shots would take to shoot, and he prepared a schedule for us.
There are a number of different factors in scheduling: the locations that you have, what the weather conditions are going to be, what the light conditions are going to be, what time you're going to start during the day, what time you have to finish during the day. And in the case of this particular film, where we've got a lot of children, you've got scheduling restrictions on the times that those kids are available. So you have to take all of these considerations into account when you're putting your schedule together to try and make it as efficient as possible, so that you can get as much shot in the time available.
The biggest thing for us was that we had this huge film, 30 minutes long. We wanted it to have a very cinematic feel to it, which involves camera moves and big setups and that sort of thing, as you'll see when you watch the film. Hopefully that'll come across. But on a limited time, we had 10 days to shoot it, which is not a lot of time for what we wanted to do. So I guess Rob's job was was being realistic and telling us what was achievable and what wasn't. And there were a number of times where we gave him a shot list, and he came back to us and said, look, this, you're not going to be able to, we had maybe 15 setups or 15 shots. You're not going to be able to do that amount in the time that you've got. And so we had to go back and simplify it.
This shoot, I would have to say, was one of the most difficult shoots I've ever had to do, just because there were so many different variables involved.
We're going to run out of smoke. Quickly, please.
It was a particularly ambitious project because it was all going to be shot on 35. The crew, we had a number of people with a lot of experience, but we had an awful lot of people who didn't have a lot of experience. There was an enormous amount to be shot in a limited amount of time.
Okay, so this is a little bit stressful at the moment because we are desperately trying to complete a shot
that has to be done before we completely run out of light. This scene is a late afternoon dusk scene, and as usual with late afternoon dusk scenes, you've got a very restricted amount of time, and you're always trying to be a little bit too ambitious with too many shots to fit into the time available. So we're hoping that we're actually going to squeeze it in, but if we do, we will only just do it.
Oh, the other thing was that the locations that we were shooting in outside were extremely inaccessible. You couldn't get crew vehicles right up to where you were shooting because they were in the middle of a paddock in the middle of nowhere. There was one instance where we couldn't even access the location because the rain had made the paddock inaccessible.
The situation currently is that we've been rained out.
We've used up all our weather days, so
Yeah.
we've just, you know, if it was raining, you'd go to the studio. Or
Yeah, and we filmed everything that we're filming indoors, and now everything's outside and it's raining.
ridiculous.
So we're in a bit of trouble, but we're okay. We're going to film tonight.
Which could have been, now I think it could have been prevented had we not shot in the studio for the first day.
This is getting too long.
I don't care. It's
Okay,
it's like had we shot in the studio the first day, which was a beautiful sunny day, we'd be okay now. Anyway,
we
that's
not
just
shot
something
in
to
the studio?
consider.
Ultimately, it went extremely well. We did need more time to be able to complete the shoot, which was just one of those things, I suppose, in order to get it done to the standard that both the directors and producer and DOP wanted. We had to spend the time to actually get it done properly. We possibly could have done it and completed it in less time, but the result wouldn't have been nearly as good.
So that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope it was helpful. In the coming episodes, we will be looking at the production. We'll be looking at the filming of Gravediggers, and we'll be talking to a few of the people who are involved. So I hope you can join us.